Hi folks, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. The battle that we are looking at today, that is Cadillac versus Lincoln, has been raging for over 100 years. And even back then, people knew if you wanted the best of the best in automotive technology, you went to one of these two brands. Well, is that really still the case? We're going to find out today when we compare that, the Cadillac Escalade, to that right there, the Lincoln Navigator. Let's kick it off by comparing the powertrains. On my left, in the Cadillac Escalade, we have a naturally aspirated 6.2 liter V8. That thing is making 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque, and that is sent through a 10-speed automatic. Now the Lincoln Navigator over here also uses a 10-speed, but that's where the similarities end. That is a twin-turbo 3.5 liter V6, and it is cranking out 440 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque. So yes, the Lincoln is making more. Now when it comes to fuel economy, pretty similar, but the Cadillac is worse. Over here you're talking about 16 miles per gallon combined, where the Lincoln is rated for two better, 18 miles per gallon combined. The specific models we are looking at today are the Cadillac Escalade Sport Platinum and the Lincoln Navigator Reserve. These are basically top trim models, and the prices speak to that. That Cadillac Escalade over there costs $130,000 here in Canada, where that Lincoln Navigator is $114,000. Now, usually I save the pricing till the end, but hey, if you're like me and you'll never be able to afford something like this, I wanted to tell you up front so you can just click out of this video now and go watch us go off-roading or something, because there's no doubt these things are crazy expensive. But hey, now we're gonna dive into them and I'll show you what you get for all that money.
And now it's time for another episode of Does Steve Fit? And frankly, if he can't fit in an Escalade, he better find a new line of work.
Yes, this is a monstrous SUV, and that's why you buy one of these things, right? To be a monster and to have a ton of space. This is just over 41 inches of second row legroom, so I fit no problem. Now we do have the panoramic sunroof. I have just enough headroom, but it is tight. I stand at 6'2". One of the things I like in these SUVs nowadays, all of this adjustability for the second row passengers, so you can really give the third row a lot of space, or if they're not back there, you can give yourself a lot of space. I do appreciate that. And now let me hop in back there. So the third row of the Escalade is 34.9 inches of legroom, which as third rows go, is pretty dang good. So I can climb in here, pop this seat down in front of me, and there we go. Now there is a nice kind of jut up into the roof here. I actually almost have more headroom in the third row, and I legitimately fit back here. The floor isn't too high. This is exactly why you buy one of these monsters, is because in the third row, a real full-size adult can actually sit back here. It's not just reserved for kids and mother-in-laws. And I'm out. Out here at the back, there are two different ways to open the hatch on your Escalade. There is a kick switch, which is a little finicky, and then, and I appreciate all of you internet commenters who are watching us and making sure we do things correctly, you can also press this emblem. This is something I didn't know before. We did an Escalade review comparing it to the Jeep Grand Wagoneer. You should go check that out. And I wasn't aware that this is a button, but sure enough, you press that and it opens. So behind the third row here, that's 25.5 cubic feet of storage space. Not a ton, and this is really gonna be your choice. If you are using the third row, not a lot of storage, or go ahead and fold those down. That's over 75 cubic feet of storage, and now you have an absolute ton of storage space in the back of this SUV. So the important thing you need to know in the comparison is that in the second row, the Lincoln has about ½ an inch less legroom than the Cadillac. In the third row, the Lincoln has about 1 inch more. So now I'll climb in and see how that translates. Well, this feels very similar. Once again, panoramic sunroof. I have just enough headroom here, but it is enough. And then once again, this seat, like the Cadillac, has tons of adjustability, which is pretty nice. And then you can't help but notice this monster console here too in the back. Lots of storage, cup holders, and then a little touchscreen here too. It's pretty neat. So now let me see if the third row is any bigger. Now here in the Lincoln, you press this button on the side and the seats tumble forward. So yeah, just about as easy to get in as the Escalade. Let me fold my headrest up, pull this guy back. And yeah, honestly, on paper, there's an extra inch and it feels like it, if not more. I have enough headroom, I have enough knee room. The floor here might actually even be a little lower. So I gotta say, for me, this is actually the more comfortable third row over here in the Lincoln Navigator. But it is safe to say that a full-size adult can sit in both of these third rows. Now for the back end of the Lincoln. First of all, there's a feature both of these SUVs have, I have to show you. The glass independently opens, which is nice if you want to reach in and just toss something in or grab out your groceries. I do like having that option. And then of course, this also has a powered hatch. Now, when you're talking about storage, the Lincoln has less. Behind this third row, there's about 5 cubic feet less than the Escalade. And yeah, that's not really a lot. And then once you fold down these rear seats, and yes, they are power as well, you get about 10 cubic feet less than the Escalade with all of these folded down. Now, still out here in the real world, this is a ton of space, so I don't think you're gonna be left wanting, but it is good to know that when it comes to storage, the Escalade does have the leg up by a little bit. Both of these SUVs put on quite a show at night too, with all the lights when you walk up to them. Take a look. Now it's time for us to go for a drive, folks. So here we are in the Lincoln Navigator. Now I'm gonna drive the Navigator, Dad's gonna drive the Escalade, and that's because I've spent quite a few days with the Escalade, vice versa for Dad. So we're trying out the other SUV here. So this Navigator, of course, has the EcoBoost in it. We're already cruising at speed, but put your foot to the floor, and it delivers, man. It is nice, smooth power. It's not really anything exciting to listen to. This EcoBoost does not scream like the V8 does in the Cadillac, but the power comes on strong. There's no doubt about that. The other thing I noticed getting in here, just sort of initial impressions, are the seats, Dad. The seats in here are a little more comfy than the Cadillac. They have like a million different adjustments. I don't know, I think they're 32-way, but it's ridiculous how many ways you can adjust these seats. And they will massage you. And there's something I didn't mention when I was in the back. The second row will massage you as well. Now that's about a $2,000 option, but still, that's pretty cool. You can get a second row of massaging seats. And those are the kind of features they keep having to expand them, because it's like, what else are you gonna do? These things have been so luxurious for so long. What more can you add? Well, there's one example. They added second row massaging seats. So yeah, I don't know. Those are my initial takeaways. What have you been feeling driving the Lincoln all week?
First job of a vehicle like this is to accommodate a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that said, the back seat, the massaging second row, makes a lot of sense. Oftentimes, I don't know, these vehicles can be bought for corporate purposes. The guy driving is not necessarily the owner.
True.
You know, the guy who's important is back there. So I think the emphasis on rear seat comfort also comes from that. And hell, you know, if you can show off to your buddies and say, you know, oh, by the way, you can massage your butt on the way to the golf course. Why not?
Yeah, no doubt about that. And that's exactly what these things are about, showing off, right? And that kind of leads me into this interior, because when you get in, you know, right away you are pretty wowed by all the materials, really nice kind of wood, and the brown leather, and the black leather, and the stitching. But once again, the initial takeaway, that initial feeling that I had, stupid mosquito, I almost got him, now I did, was, and you can tell me if you felt this way, the Cadillac, or the Lincoln here, this feels a little bit like old man luxury, like a nice old mahogany smelling library, whereas the Cadillac feels like young man luxury. It feels like it's trying to be cutting edge and literally has a lot of sharp angles, and then it has, you know, the night vision and all the technology and stuff. So that's sort of my feeling on it, and that's not a bad thing about the Lincoln, but it feels more upscale luxury. Would you get those feelings?
Well, you know, if you want to go old man, young man, I'd rather go, you know, stately, classic, very, very nicely appointed, versus Cadillac, which is loud and crass. Okay, so, you know, if it's, I guess it's more along the lines of what kind of a person are you?
Yeah, fair enough.
Right?
Yeah. The Lincoln would be in that classical music going to the opera commercial, and the Cadillac would be in the rap music video.
Yeah, and we don't want to stereotype anybody.
No, but those are the feelings they give off.
It's true. It's the way that it kind of comes across.
Another important aspect of these big SUVs is interior noise, and they're both quite quiet in here, but I want to see which one is quieter. So we're getting out the decibel meter on my phone, and we're going to do a test. We're going to drive for a minute, we're going to do the same section of road, and we're going to see which one is quieter. We have the sunroof closed, windows closed, HVAC off, and now we're going to be totally silent. I'm ready when you are, Dad. Okay, well, what were our numbers there?
63 minimum, 81 maximum, for an average of 75.
That's the most important, 75 decibels average. And I was running 70 kilometers an hour, so once again, we'll repeat the test exactly the same in the Cadillac, and we'll see if it's any quieter or louder. Okay, time for a sound test here in the Escalade. So once again, we're gonna hit the decibel meter, we're gonna drive for a minute, and we're gonna see what happens. Ready, Dad? Here we go. And there it is. That's the same 1 minute, same stretch of road. And the Cadillac was also, or just slightly louder. Our average here, Dad, was actually 76 decibels. So 1 dB louder than in the Lincoln. I'm a little surprised at that, but you know, the decibel meter doesn't lie. Although I do think the overall takeaway is that they're both very similar, and that is to say, very quiet. And now we're here driving in the Escalade, so first off, Dad, why don't you nail it? Let's feel it. So it feels pretty good.
Definitely a 6.2 liter.
It sounds so good. This is the optional performance exhaust on this Escalade, so it's even louder than a standard Escalade, but dang, does it sound good. Sorry, Ford, you're just never gonna get that sound out of the EcoBoost. However, I will say I do think I felt the power difference. When the EcoBoost is going at full tilt, it feels a little quicker, and it's got a little bit more jam there.
Yeah, as the mid-range comes on, when those turbos spool up, it really has a kick in the ass.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But this thing does sound good. Now, from the passenger seat, Dad, my big takeaway, man, is these are very similar. They both drive big, but they're also both super smooth. And I don't think I could pick one to say one is smoother than the other or more comfortable than the other. They're both smooth and comfortable, wouldn't you say? Does one of them stand out to you in the way it actually drives?
Not really. I mean, they're you know, they're long wheelbase, excellent suspension. It's all about comfort, and they both have it in spades. Yeah. So if you want to try and pick one over the other, you're really splitting hairs.
looking inside, now that we're sitting over here, yeah, I mean, the Cadillac interior is gorgeous as well. I like the stitching. We have this deep brown leather here in our vehicle today. And then this huge wraparound screen, Dad. And this is sort of what I was talking about, the difference between sort of the more upscale luxury and then this being the high-tech, cutting-edge luxury. This screen is massive and it's curved, which is really cool. It gives you that sense of high-tech. But overall, again, I don't think I'm saying one interior is better than another. I couldn't honestly say that and feel good about it. It's just they're different, and this is going to come down to what you prefer, right?
Each one kind of fixates on different options, and what I'm seeing is in the Cadillac, it's more along the lines of the electronics. And you know, I don't see the point of having an option if I'm not going to use it. And for instance, this
augmented reality, real-time display, whatever the heck it is,
I wouldn't use it. The only time it's really any good is when you've got the nav system operating. It's certainly very good for that. But just to have basically exactly the same thing I'm looking through the windshield at displayed on a screen below, no.
Yeah.
So, you know what? For that reason alone, I would go with the Lincoln.
Now hold your horses. There's a couple things in the Escalade you have to appreciate. First of all, something you would have loved when I was 6 years old is the conversation enhancement button. So you hit a button on your steering wheel and then it pumps your voice into the back. So even if your kids are in the rear row, they're gonna hear you nice and clearly. And I do have kids, I'm using it all the time, and I actually really like that feature, Dad.
Can you frighten them?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm loud enough as it is, and then you put that thing on and you really crank your voice up.
Okay, well then maybe there's something there.
And then the other feature, augmented reality, I will agree that personally I don't think I would use it that much, but the night vision, and it's not just gimmicky, hey, I can see, you know, heat signatures at night. It's actually going to help you detect animals in the ditch. So if it's actually going to make me safer driving at night, I'm all for it, and I'm all for Cadillac coming up with systems like that. So yes, there's a ton of cool stuff going on in this Escalade. There's even a rear view camera mirror up here, which the Lincoln doesn't have. And then, Dad, you can't discount just the name Escalade. It means a lot. The Cadillac Escalade has been around for a while. It has a reputation, and people will be willing to pay for the name Escalade over Navigator, at least in my opinion. However, what this review or this comparison really boils down to is these two American luxury SUVs are very similar. They're both super powerful, spacious, and luxurious. One of the biggest differences, though, is the price. The Lincoln Navigator is going to save you $15,000 compared to this Cadillac Escalade. So, at the end of the day, I like them both. I love the features here in the Escalade, but if I'm going to get the same amount of luxury for less money, I find myself leaning towards the Lincoln, just like you, Dad. Any other thoughts on it, or you agree with me?
The only thing I'm going to say is that perhaps we're the wrong guys to review these vehicles, because if you're really looking at buying one of these things, maybe 15 grand don't matter that much to you. In which case, yeah, name brand is going to sway you more so. In addition to which, Lincoln resale is not as strong as Cadillac. So, a couple of small things to think about, but I mean, these two behemoths are meant to move people comfortably and also to make a statement. This, when you pull into a parking lot in this thing, everybody looks at you and goes, ooh, that's somebody. Even if you're a nobody, it looks like you're a somebody, and that's what you're paying for. So, end of the day, that's where your money's going to go. At least you know what it's going to be spent on, and you have to decide is, are you Lincoln enough? Or do you have to be the Cadillac?
Yeah, well, there you go. I think you've summed it up well. And now, of course, we want to hear your thoughts. So why don't you guys go into the comments right now. Let us know which one of these beasts you would buy, Lincoln or Cadillac. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of the channel, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we are testing next. See you guys.
Bye now.